Testing, testing. All good? That sounds better? Okay. All right. When Andrew asked me if I could speak on money and debt and I have 15 minutes, I'm like, yeah, no problem, no problem. Like Andrew, I have no formal education in economics or money or business. I had a macroeconomics class in undergrad, found it pretty fascinating, even though I was a broke college student. I have amassed trillions of dollars in wealth, though. And, if you don't believe that, I did bring proof. And if anybody would be willing to make change if anybody would be willing to make change, please pass it around. I mean, I want people to see trillions of dollars. If anybody can give me change in U.S. dollars, I'll even take a haircut on that. Be very grateful if you could do that. Just a little, there's no way to go over this topic without a very sour, very large black pill, okay? And sugarcoating black pills isn't always good either. I think there's a story in Scripture where it says, it's going to be sweet going in, but it's going to be sour in your stomach. This is going to be sour in your stomach in the end, But I'm going to wrap it in God's Word and the comfort we can have in that. Forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. This is Federal Reserve economic data. It's a little outdated. The government shut down, if you haven't heard. But this week we crossed $38 trillion in public U.S. debt. It's an insurmountable number. Our brains don't think, God didn't give us brains that think exponentially. We're okay doing linear stuff, but exponentials fries us pretty quick. But when you put it in time, which we have a limited amount of, 1 million seconds is almost 12 days. 1 billion seconds is over 31 years. And 1 trillion seconds would be more than 31,000 years. So, when you say $38 trillion, if you converted that to time, Christ is going to come back before that happens, most likely. I'm willing to put a little bet on that. Even in a post-millennial church, I think we're going to be in glory here before 31,000 years. Now, to further black pill, this is estimated to continue to grow by 1 trillion in the next 3 months, give or take. The median American man makes $45,000 a year and will earn a little over $2 million in his lifetime. So the debt is increasing at a rate of the lifelong productive capacity of your median man of 500,000 men in 3 months. So the debt is the money, and the money is the debt. The system, and I'm going to be very blunt here. I'm not going to go into details. I'm going to try not to chase any rabbit holes given the limited amount of time. So if you have questions, ask questions later. But this system is built to perpetuate debt. The debt can never be repaid. If all debts were repaid, no money would be left in circulation. Every existing dollar originated in a loan on top of a loan on top of a loan on top of a loan in perpetuity. And if you start paying that back, the music stops playing. And when the music stops playing, people start looking for chairs. So the music needs to continue to play, because if you look to the center of the room where the game's being played, there are no chairs, okay? So it gets real scary if the music slows down. And that's when the powers that be start to act and do things to keep the music playing. But don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows, as our Lord says. One thing is for certain, empires collapse, and that almost always coincides with currency collapse and economic collapse. For those cursed with color blindness, the only one you really need to know is the dotted line is the U.S. dollar and its decline in value over the last 100 years. And we had a pretty exponential decay there in the middle, which was really conquered by the illusion that our currency was backed by something, as well as an incredible productive capacity of over 8 million men coming back home from World War II and having a bunch of babies, starting a bunch of businesses, and plodding away and doing a bunch of work. And in God's economy, productivity and abundance is the default, okay? In the fiat world, where the world says, let there be money, let there be stuff, there is no abundance. Everything is scarce, okay? So we got away with that for quite some time. In 1965, this was the minimum wage. How many of you would be happy making that per hour right now? Boom. Boom. If you had an employer that would give you 5 quarters at the end of your shift for every hour you plodded away, that's almost $50 in silver. In 65, we made it garbage metal. We stopped putting silver in our coinage because it costs money, right? So we need cheap metal. You might have heard that they're decommissioning the penny because it costs 2 or 3 cents to make one. We're running into trouble here, guys. This is the end of empire kind of vibes, okay? So that was 1965 that we stopped putting silver in our quarters. Most guys would be happy making $50 an hour today, right? If it was hard money. Where's Caleb at? He's supposed to help me here. Caleb, clank some of those coins together, buddy. Show people what hard money is. Okay? Oh, he doesn't have any. That's all right. That's all right. Hey, somebody's got some. Clang them when you get them. Clang them when you get them. Okay? This is Steve Mnuchin, former Treasury Secretary during Trump's first reign, and his trophy wife, showing you what most of us work for, right? We work hard for pieces of paper with dead men on them that we're told that have value, that can be printed by another man who has that power. If we print pieces of paper with dead men on them that look anything similar, we get to get put in a cage. We might get 3 hots in a cot, but you'll end up in a cage if you try to put pieces of paper out there with dead men on them, right? But someone else can do it, and then you can earn that by working hard, potentially risking blood, sweat, tears, life, and limb. But please work harder, okay, so you can pay taxes. God's word says, you shall do no wrong in judgment in measures of length or weight or quantity. You shall have just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and you shall observe all my statutes and all my rules, and do them. I am the Lord. You shall not have in your bag 2 kinds of weights, a large and a small. You shall not have in your house 2 kinds of measures, a large and a small. A full and fair weight you shall have, a full and fair measure you shall have, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. For all who do such things, all who act dishonestly, are an abomination to the Lord your God. You shall not steal. Okay? Inflation and perpetually increasing our money supply is a form of theft that you never get held at gunpoint. No one ever tells you, give me your wallet or I'm going to shoot you, right? It's a slow, parasitic bleeding of the host, okay, by the parasite, okay? A man named Henry Ford, you might have heard of him, he said in 1914, it is well enough that people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning. Government schools, over generations have been very successful in keeping the population completely ignorant to how this all works. When you dig into the belly of the beast, it's scary. It's really, really scary what you learn and what you uncover. So what is money? What is money? Anybody? Can have a little gold and silver. Why gold and silver? That's what the Bible says. Yeah, Bible says gold and silver is money, right? If you work, what are you expending when you work? Your time, energy, and attention, right? So should that be something that by fiat, a government or non-governmental body should be able to print ad infinitum, right? For your time and energy and attention? No. Now, gold and silver, that takes time and energy, right? A man's got to crawl in a hole, maybe risk life and limb, pull out a chunk of rock that has a little bit in it, refine that, purify that, turn it into coinage. Someone else put a whole heck of a lot of work into getting you a gold coin or getting you a silver coin. It might be machines, it might be diesel, it might be modern technology, but nevertheless, time and energy went into producing a coin with gold and silver because God created a world where those elements are relatively scarce, right? They're kind of hard to find. The easy ones have already been found. The tough ones that we know about, you know, you have to have a certain price per ounce before it's worth even going after, right? So, you know, God's money was a representation of our time and energy because it took time and energy to produce it and to collect it and to have it, right? So in simplicity, you know, one definition of money is to say it's a store of value, a medium of exchange, and a unit of account. When you work, you want to have something to store so you have something later to save, to give, and to spend, right? You want to be able to store your time and energy when you work. Medium of exchange, you know, gold and silver are great, but you go to the grocery store, lady's going to look at you pretty funny if you try to shave off some chunks off your gold brick that you're carrying around, okay? Probably not going to go well, you know, 99 times out of 100. You know, a unit of account, we are programmed by the matrix to just say everything costs this much in US dollars, right? We would never say my house is 400 ounces of gold, right? Or my house is 5 Bitcoin, right? Like we would never say that because our unit of account is just auto dollars and everything is getting more expensive, right? So when we measure stuff, we just say dollars, right? So meet in U.S. house, I'm a Bitcoiner, and I think I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't share a little bit of what I know here about that. Housing is getting cheaper if you save in Bitcoin, okay? In fact, it's cheaper than it's ever been for a new house. You know, it was 1,300 Bitcoin in 2015 for a house. Your median house in 2020, almost 28 Bitcoin, and now we're down to sub 4 Bitcoin for a pretty nice house in America, all right? So what you're saving in matters. If you did this in gold, houses are getting cheaper. If you did this in silver, houses are getting cheaper, right? But we're not taught to save or store our value in gold, silver, or Bitcoin, right? We're told to put as much as you can in your 401k. Let your employer match it. Keep it in the system so Wall Street and the fat cats are happy, right? And they can just like siphon off, you know, the fees that they have every quarter or every year or whatever it is, however it works. But you get your dividends, but you can't touch that until you're almost dead, you know, or you'll get a penalty. You know, so there's all these rules. You know, it sounds good. You see the numbers on the screen going up, you know, as you pump up that 401k. But in the end, you need someone else's permission to use it. There's rules and regulations all around it. And who's to say that can't be stolen someday? You study history enough. Banks close, accounts get wiped away, numbers on the screen disappear. You know, your retirement isn't immune to someone saying, oh, that's mine now, okay? Gold, silver, Bitcoin are what's called a bearer asset. You know, I give it to you. It's not mine anymore. It's yours, okay? I don't need anyone else's permission, right? You hold a gun to my head and steal it. It's not mine anymore. It's yours, right? You've effectively stolen it. It's a bearer asset. You give it to the other. You don't need a third party or an intermediary to trade it or to use it. It's a peer-to-peer kind of system. You know, you study this stuff. You study gold. You study silver. I see Bitcoin as a necessity for every Christian to try to understand to the best of their ability. In a digital, gold was great for 5,000 years. We're in a digital world. We're in an international world. You can't send a gold coin to a missionary in Africa. You can't send it to your grandma in Missouri, not easily anyway. You know, Bitcoin's different. It's digital. You can send it. It's limited. Men can't corrupt it. It's incorruptible code. You know, so the sinfulness of man can't ruin this system. It's gotten too big for it to be corrupted at this point. And if you have more questions about that, I'm happy to answer those. Honest scales and balances belong to the Lord. All the weights in the bag are of his making. And a nice psalm that I thought was appropriate here. The blameless spend their days under the Lord's care, and their inheritance will endure forever. In times of disaster, they will not wither. In days of famine, they will enjoy plenty. But the wicked will perish. Though the Lord's enemies are like the flowers of the field, they will be consumed, and they will go up in smoke. The wicked borrow and do not repay, but the righteous give generously. Those the Lord blesses will inherit the land, but those he curses will be destroyed. The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in him. Though he may stumble, he will not fall, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. And finally, let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another, for whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. That's all I got, guys. That's all I got. Might have said a little bit more, maybe a little too much, but yeah. Do I have 5 more minutes, really? Okay, all right. Well, no, I'll just take questions. Like hit me hard. Yeah, give me some questions. I haven't been disappointed with the difficulty of questions here. That's for sure.
Thank you. You mentioned someone could wipe away your retirement account. You mentioned someone could wipe away your retirement account.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly. Couldn't the same thing happen with your Bitcoin on the screen, or how does that work?
How's that? Well, that's a good question. That's an excellent question. Yeah, to a certain extent, you can certainly lose it. There's a responsibility there to make sure that in your death or your expiration, your mental capacity is lost, that I have some ability to make sure that my kids get that, right? If I have gold in a safe in my home and I have an MI, kids can drill my safe. Like, they know where dad's gold's at, right? They can eventually get in there. You can certainly lose it, and that's probably the biggest risk to it. But if you have self-custody of it, outside of you pulling my fingers off to get my password or me dying with it, it really can't be stolen or lost otherwise. If you think of your credit card number, okay, and the chances I could guess your credit card number, okay, and the chances I could guess the 3 digits on the back, and the chances I could guess the expiration date, I could buy whatever I want, right, if I could guess that or figure that out or crack that. A Bitcoin private key is 256 numbers long. You know, so if I can't guess your credit card number and your expiration date and your CVV, you're not going to guess a 256-digit number. It is ones and zeros. It's not 10 digits, but still, that's a really. We talked about exponentials. 256, 2 to the 256 power is a really, really, really big number. And just for frame of reference, they say it's, again, I'm not an astrophysicist, but for frame of reference, it's nearly equivalent to the number of atoms in the known universe. Okay, so if I pick that atom right there to be my password, and you go out through the entire universe, what are the chances someone else is going to pick the same atom? Pretty low odds. Yeah, and there's other ways to even further encrypt it more. You can have, like, say in a church, you could have the pastor, and 2 elders, all 3 have a key, and no one can spend it unless 2 out of 3 keys are initiated. So you can sort of have a nuclear launch sort of situation when it's a business or a corporation or a multifamily inheritance path. It doesn't have to be a single key. It could be multiple keys.
Yeah, mine's basically kind of the same as his. You said it's uncorruptible, but it could be wiped away just like anything else. It's on a computer. It's not in your hand.
Yeah, it's a step you got to get past, right? I mean, you might have some cash in your wallet now, and you might be a cash-only kind of guy, but you still have a bank account with numbers on a screen, right? And there's definitely a learning curve to get from where you are, what you're saying now, to saying, yeah, this is something. This is something, because it's beyond just one computer. It's on tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of computers around the world. So, unless we go full Mad Max, and the only money we have is ammo and alcohol and non-perishable food and canned goods, that's a different world. We go Mad Max, yeah, gold, Bitcoin, silver don't mean anything. No one wants a shiny yellow rock if my kids are starving and I got marauders running around town. It's a different world then. But if we're not Mad Max, if we have electricity and we have the internet, we have money if Bitcoin becomes a global reserve currency. Yes, sir.
Like, let's say gold and silver,
Yeah.
it had to be mined, someone had to put sweat into it, and then
Yeah.
get it, form a business to pull it out of the earth. What is the intrinsic worth of Bitcoin? How does that work?
A representation of your time and energy. So currently, with gold and silver, if the price of gold goes up or the price of silver goes up, what are miners going to do? They're going to try to dig up more of it as quick as they can, right? The code of Bitcoin says this is how much it's going to be. There's only ever going to be 21 million. Currently, there's almost 20 million. So there's a million more to be mined, okay? And I'm going to keep it simple. A million more to be mined. That's going to take another 100 years. And it's a slow, steady, programmed path. I don't know how many dollars there are going to be tomorrow or how many dollars there's going to be next week or next year. Same. That's a guarantee, right? That's a guarantee, yeah. But the same applies to ounces of gold, Whereas this is already, the monetary policy is set in stone, and then that network is protected by energy. So I can try to change the rules, make Steve coin, or Andrew can make Andrew coin. I don't know your name, you can make your own coin. You got to get other people to play the game, right? Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you change the rules of chess, you can make your own game. Good luck getting every international master and grandmaster to play it. And currently, the amount of energy, electricity, that is in, so electricity is time and energy, right? You don't get that for free unless you have a lot of solar panels, but those aren't free. You got to build solar panels. The time and energy going into the network right now is equivalent to 100 nuclear power plants. So this is no joke. No one's going to just cook up 100 nuclear power plants and corrupt the network. It's gotten too big. It's gotten too big. And it's too decentralized, too. It's all over the world. It's not just one country.
I heard that the federal government wants to shut down Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on that, and do you think that they can actually do that?
Good luck. Good luck. It would be shooting themselves in the foot. Be shooting themselves in the foot. And honestly, I think the contrary is true. Right. Yeah, I think the contrary is true. When you're kicking the can down the road, you're going to run out of road. And when the can gets close to the end of the road, you got to figure out how to lay new road real quick. And I think Bitcoin's going to be one of the release valves to lay down new road real quick. Gold is filling the shoes right now. I think gold's going to be part of the play. But when we ran into similar issues in the 70s with inflation, the release valve was gasoline or oil, and that didn't work out too well. That hurt the common man quite a bit. Whereas if you pump gold or you pump Bitcoin or you pump both, that makes the rich richer and the poor just get left out, which is usually the game that's played. So I think that might be more the way it goes, where the rich get richer and anyone not playing gets left out.
One other question. I heard from some other people that are really into Bitcoin, and their advice would be to, if you don't own a house yet, to stock up on Bitcoin for a few years and forget about a house and then buy a house. What would your thoughts be on that?
I mean, I think it depends on your current level of provision. As a single man, I need a room, a roof that doesn't leak, a mattress on the floor. I'm happy, right? But if you got an old lady, you got to provide a nest. So a house might trump that plan if you have a missus. I personally, I think I'm not knocking on gold and silver bugs. I think gold and silver are great. If your great granddad saved in paper money and left you an inheritance from 100 years ago, probably ain't much today, right? But if he saved you in ounces of gold or ounces of silver, he left you something, right? And you dug it up today, you found the treasure map, you dug it up, probably real happy, right? Gold has stood the test of time. It's pretty tough for a common guy to buy an ounce of gold right now. 1 ounce coin, almost $4 grand, right? Or is $4 grand. That's tough to part with. An ounce of silver, $50. But Bitcoin you can buy 5 cents a day, 10 cents a day, $1 a day, $1 an hour, $20 a day. Whatever you can afford that isn't going to be your mortgage next week, or your grocery money. You're talking about long-term savings. You can commit anything you want to that, and then you learn how to take custody. The guy was saying about losing it. Ultimately, it is just numbers on the screen if someone else is holding it for you. If someone else is holding your gold for you and they show you a picture, like, yeah, I got it, buddy, I promise, it's right here. See the picture? You know, if it isn't in your safe, you know, it's not really yours, right? So you want to take custody of what you acquire and know that it's yours.
There are folks that don't understand Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I'm definitely one of them. You know, I even have trouble understanding like buying and selling short on the market. I have trouble getting my arms around that. And when I think of even like mining for Bitcoin, you know, you'll never be able to explain that to me. I don't have the capacity to understand it. Do you think people should? And the other thing is like Bitcoin is not valuable in the end unless it's converted to dollars, at least at this point, at some point. Because most people don't take Bitcoin or whatever. Do you feel that people should invest in Bitcoin even if or even though they don't really understand it? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, it's a learning curve. It's a generational curve. You know, when Facebook came out, I thought, my mom's never going to use Facebook, like ever. You know, 20 years later, she's doom scrolling on Facebook like the kids are doom scrolling on TikTok. You know, like so. There's a time gap there where people will come around. You know, and it becomes normal, right? When cell phones came out, you probably thought, my dad's never going to use a cell phone. Next thing you know, your dad's calling you, texting you. You know, like. There's this technological gap of time that generally crosses generations, and you learn, you figure it out, or you understand it to the best of your ability. And if you're truly, truly incapable, you know, God didn't bless you with the mind that can wrap around this, then hopefully you have somebody in your family that you can trust that's going to do it for you, right? That'll help you out, that you can put your faith in. Like, you know, I don't understand this, but I know He's taking care of me. You know, He's helping me out. Yeah, I think you just gotta study it and understand it to the best ability. It is a complex topic, you know, and I've went down every rabbit hole I could kind of go down on it. And at some point, you know, if you're not a PhD in computer science or coding, you're done. Like this is your line in the road. If you're not a mathematician, you're done. If you're not a cryptographer, you're done. If you're not, you know, an electrical engineer, this is how far you can go in mining. And then it's like, okay, I don't know what's going on. You know, so the amount of knowledge that it would take to have a complete comprehensive understanding of this is multiple PhDs in multiple different disciplines. Like it is no joke, you know, it is no joke. But I dug as deep as I could with what I got, you know, and I'm comfortable with it. You know, I went all in many years ago, and I wouldn't consider myself a risky guy as the sole breadwinner for 5 kids and number 6 on the way. I'm going to try to do what's smart and conservative to provide for not just these guys, but, you know, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, right? I hope to be saving for a generation I may never see. You know, so I'm trying to have that post-millennial kind of point of view, you know, with this. And yeah, I mean, that's my plan, and what I've kind of put my stock in. Another common objection you'll hear is the verse. Can't remember if it's in Proverbs or Ecclesiastes, but more or less like put your wealth in 7 ventures, yes, even 8, because you don't know how they'll turn out. And that's sort of like the verse, well, you got to diversify. You know, you got to diversify. You know, I don't necessarily, you don't sell the winners to buy the losers. You know, that's not a good strategy if that's your version of diversification. I also see that verse as more of a venture capitalist sort of thing. You know, if I have $100 million and I'm a Shark Tank guy, you know, I'll listen to a bunch of startups and say, yeah, I'll throw $1 million at you, I'll throw $1 million at you, I have $100 million. You know, I'll throw $50 million away, right? And if one of those 1 millions becomes $1 billion, you know, then I'm even richer than I already was, right? So I see that verse more as the venture capital sort of thing, whereas I see Bitcoin as sound money. Like this is sound money, like gold is sound money, like silver is sound money, but for the digital age, for a new age, you know. And it's 17 years old. It's went from being, you know, a collectible to a penny to 10 cents, $1, $100, $1,000. Spent the last, you know, it's spent about 200 days now above 100K. So the trajectory is good if you have a long-term outlook. Is it volatile? It's very volatile, day to day, month to month. Yeah, there's lots of volatility, but if you're looking long-term, I don't think anything you put in today, you'll care what you paid for it in 10 or 20 years. You know, it's a long-term kind of thing. It's not get rich quick. It is not get rich. It's stay rich, don't get poor is the equation. Don't let them keep you poor. Absolutely. Sure, sure. There's lots of traders. There's lots of guys that tried that. Lots of guys that got burnt. Couple smart ones might have pulled it off, but that's risky business. But yeah, you can trade it all you want.
What you're saying is generally the whole buy and hold, right?
I'm a long-term investor kind of guy. I mean, I follow traders. I have buddies that are day traders that aren't broke and provide for their families. It ain't my style. It ain't my style at all. I'd rather put it away and just, not worry about it personally. But yeah, if you're a trader, you can absolutely trade it, short term or long term. Yeah.
But if you're not a trader, what I'm thinking reaches the top of the parabola
Mm-hmm.
and watch it drop.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the assumption is, okay, so the long-term trend is up. There's going to be downward spikes here and there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the death of the dollar.
Yeah.
There's times when it's spiked up a little.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 But if you look at the long-term curve, either straight down, right, for the dollar, gold, silver, long-term curve, it's up and to the right, or up and to the right for you guys, up and to the right. Yeah.
Okay. We are at the limit of time, and I